when I first started this channel, I didn't expect it to be like a full-time thing. I thought, okay, I have insights. I can bring them to the table. I can be like, yo, check this out. I learned this at the company. I learned this, studying the company, and for the last 10 years, investor. I understand business. I'm a business leader. Look at all the things that I've put together, and here you go. But then what's been super interesting now that we're in a time of, call it the last 3 to 6 months, has been chaos. It has been chaos for a lot of investors that are invested in the Tesla story and really following the company as closely as they have. And for me, it's just been interesting trying to bring people, I don't know, a little bit of peace, a little bit of understanding of perhaps some of the things that are going on, and using my experience and my knowledge. And it's just been really fun, really fun. And the one thing that I really admire about you, and I know I just lost.
I definitely didn't drop out there. I swear, I heard everything you said. Sure. Absolutely everything.
I was just literally talking about myself the whole time.
Yeah. No, I was listening as it got out. Your whole channel that you originally starting just to share some insights from a Tesla employee. And obviously now you're doing a ton of interviews and bringing a load of value, especially because there's a lot of Tesla investors that they didn't have access to any of the insight you're providing, not only from your perspective as working as an employee, but also the amount of interviews and conversations and ideas that are being bounced around. It's just amazing that this ecosystem has just exploded underneath Tesla. And you're really filling a nice sort of niche that I don't really think anyone else is quite delivering on. You're the interview man these days.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that, man. But I think what's been really, important for this time in the sort of Tesla investing thesis is that there's just so much noise and so many people are in a very uncomfortable spot that I find that this moment is one of the most important in really Tesla's history because there's just still so much potential, but there is variables that are being thrown in the mix that I think folks are perceiving to be quite harmful. So like, how are you navigating these times? Has anything changed in how you're approaching things? I would love to pick your brain on that a little bit.
Just eye on the prize. I'm a very robotic person in terms of not getting overtaken by emotions. I think that helps. Being on the spectrum is certainly an advantage when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I just scratching my head, not understanding why so many people are getting butthurt. We've just been delivered the opportunity of opportunities, in my opinion, in terms of Tesla collapsing. It's absurd. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. Obviously, not investment advice, but I think in a few years' time, people are going to look back who didn't see the opportunity, didn't recognize it, or got caught up in the doom and gloom and just go, "What was I thinking? Like, how did I not?" I mean, I saw your video. You're talking about Coke and Pepsi valuations. We now know that Tesla's in the Chipotle Coke. It just does not make sense. Yet the collective buying and selling actions of investors in the market just drives the price down. So there's no arbitrary limitation to how it can go. It's literally just a result of people buying and selling, especially institutional investors moving the stock. Letting enough big institutional investors keep selling, it could go anywhere. And so a lot of people, I think, have an irrational response. Oh, the stock's going down. That must be for a reason other than buying and selling activity in the market. I just keep my eye on the long term and think this is all noise. At some point, the market figures it out. At some point, maybe even after Q4, when Tesla prints another couple of $1 billion in net income, people are like, oh, shit, hang on a minute. I thought that was the end of the world. I thought they were going bankrupt. What's going on here? We'll see, though.
Yeah, I think
if I'm being honest, I actually really hope that 2023, maybe even beyond, is a disaster.
You mean macro-wise, it's going to be a disaster after 2023?
Yeah. No, I don't know, but I would like it to be. The more panic and fear, the better, because the cheaper I'm buying Tesla stock. I mean, this is literally a gift from the flying spaghetti monster. I'm so pumped. I just can't imagine. Like, I thought 2019 was a great opportunity. Probably doesn't happen again. There was a point there where Tesla just collapsed and I'm like, this is just insane. I took my entire emergency fund and just dumped it in. And I'm thinking, is this happening again? Are you serious? Bring it on. So the more, the better. A lot of people get the false impression that the higher Tesla stock is, the happier I would be, but it's the polar opposite. I'm still accumulating. I'm trying to get to a goal of owning 0.0001% of the company. And so, if I need to get to that goal, the cheaper the stock is, the further my money goes, the better for me. So I would like it to remain as low as possible, but I'm just not sure how long the stock market can remain this irrational. I've got no idea. Yeah. But if I'm being honest, I'd love to see an absolute bloodbath next year. I'll be cleaning up with a mop and bucket. You can count on it.
At least you're honest.
That's right. That's really definitely one thing about me.
That's definitely factual. Athletic Greens, by the way, they sponsored the channel. Yeah.
Legit. By the way, like seriously, use your link down below, right? You give them a free year of vitamin D. This is the shit. Seriously, I've been getting all my friends and family on this. I've been using this now for nearly 2 years. It is a game changer.
I think the one thing that I've been trying to sort of absorb as the Tesla community has been hitting me up on DMs and comments and everything, because we were chatting about this before we went live, is that it seems like we're at a time now that's very different from, I guess, what happened before in the arc of Tesla as a company and as an investing thesis and as a community. Sort of, if I think back the last 10 years before this year, there was a lot of unity around Elon Musk. There's a lot of unity around the mission. There's a lot of unity about the company and the fundamentals and the product. You name it. Like everybody was just on the same page. And now with the latest really Twitter acquisition and some of the stuff that Elon says on Twitter, that I think I'm in the camp that it is divisive. I think some of the stuff he says is divisive. But then the question becomes,
no one would argue that point. The question is,
sure,
should he continue to say and do things that are divisive? That's
so what do you think?
The point of contention. As I said on Twitter a while ago, now this is a matter of values, so there's no right or wrong answer. But I completely understand where Elon's coming from because I think the same way on this topic. I personally believe that your number one responsibility, and I'm only talking from the perspective of a man, it may apply to women too, but women are different enough that I'm not going to speak for women. But if you're a guy, I personally believe, at least my values, family before anything else. Protect and provide no matter what. If you put anything above your family, there's something wrong with you, I think, as a man. I honestly believe that. But of course, people have different values. So this is just my perspective. It's not right or wrong. I think following family, then comes humanity. Then comes your company or companies. Now, this is not the correct order. Like people are, what do you mean, bro? You're a CEO. You should put the company first. And I understand that argument, but I would never do that. And I don't understand how other people have the different perspective. I'm conscious that people do have a different order of values. But to me, I'm like, how could you possibly not do what's in the best interest of your family first and second, humanity? Elon's looking long-term into the future. Twitter is a great example. There's so much insanity that's happened here. Most people are naive to it. They've been brainwashed by the fake news. Most people are so stupid they can't think for themselves, and it's so easy to manipulate the average person. Elon's trying to put out a fire here that people can't even see, and he's doing this because it's going to be beneficial to the long-term future of humanity. But most people don't recognize there's a fire, so they think he's insane. He does say things that are divisive. He's pointing out stuff like Fauci. I'm not going to go down this whole rabbit hole. Shout out to lying to Congress about gain of function research and shit like this. This is good. This is not a good person, not a good human. But most people, what are you talking about, man? It's protected us, right? And Elon's trying to go, hey guys, something really fucked up happened here. Like, please just at least look, listen, open your eyes. And so the reason Elon's doing this is because we're on a dark path. The mainstream media controls the one true narrative. And most people have no idea. They think the media and the news is telling them what's going on in the world instead of some sprinklings of events that happen, plus then whatever their agenda is, whatever their narrative is. And Elon's thinking long-term future of humanity. If the media controls the narrative, if big tech is unilaterally censoring and suppressing certain opinions, we're fucked. You need to be able to freely share thoughts, opinions, and ideas, debate, and discuss. And most people don't see this as an existential threat to civilization. I do, so I understand why Elon's doing this. It's like an asteroid's coming. And Elon's like, hey, motherfuckers, there's a fucking asteroid. We're going to die unless we do something. And it was like, no, there's not. There's not an asteroid. Stop dividing people. You're scaring people. Just Tesla, man. So I think this is where Elon's coming from, and this is what I relate to. And I totally understand. Some people might value their company above all else. They put their family last. They don't care about humanity. I get that. But I think it's pretty clear to me the reason that Elon's doing what he's doing isn't to divide. It's simply to raise attention and draw attention to really important issues that can have an impact on the future of humanity. Elon's not doing this on purpose to piss people off or be divisive, but he has gigantic testicles and he does what matters. He says what matters and he doesn't care about the consequences because in my mind, his order of values, family first, humanity second, companies third. That's what I think. And I think a lot of people just don't grasp this. They think he's trying to damage Tesla. He's trying to be divisive for its own sake. They're not seeing the bigger picture or the intentions behind his actions.
No, I really appreciate your candor, your honesty, especially as somebody. I think you're probably closer than really most, way closer than I am of really understanding sort of his thought process as somebody who's maybe there's I'm sure there's some commonality being on the spectrum where you can kind of gauge where he's coming from. You're like my resident on spectrum expert, and I'm utilizing your skill set here.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say being on the spectrum is definitely a part of it. I also think just by chance, Elon and I have quite similar values. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Elon highly values freedom above just to that completely. And if you tell me don't do this or don't say this, that was definitely the wrong call, because that will just make me stand up and really fight even harder. I also think that because I have a really sort of autistic, nerdy kind of view of the world, I've studied physics. So I look at the world and the universe through a similar lens, I think, to Elon, in that I'm really thinking about the science. I can go all the way from the atoms up, to the scale of the universe. And I think that gives you a very different perspective about things. So oftentimes I find myself seeming to understand where Elon's coming from, where other people are scratching their head. And I think part of it's being on the spectrum, part of it's we have similar values, and part of it's just the way that we view, the cosmic perspective and understanding, the universe from the atoms up. So obviously I'm not always going to understand what's in his head, but I do think I relate to him a little bit more than the average person.
I appreciate that. What I'm gauging. So if I'm going to take my super amateur psychologist hat on, and I'm viewing sort of the actions that Elon is taking as of recent, that people call divisive, or people say, hey, this is like hurting Tesla brand and it's hurting Tesla stock, or hurting their butt, their feelings, whatever, right? Their sense of like somebody they can look up to. Because that's another thing too. And this is sort of like ties here to the point I'm making, is there's two things, I believe. There's Elon Musk brand and Tesla brand. And Tesla brand, the way I gauge Elon thinks about the brand is product engineering. Is it going to blow your mind? And is it going to be the greatest thing you'll ever love? And the greatest thing that you'll ever sort of associate yourself with from a product perspective. And you'll love this thing more than anything you've ever loved before in your life. So that's the Tesla brand. And then the Elon Musk brand, I don't think really exists in his head. I think he is somebody that's like, okay, this is what's important to me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be myself doing it. And if that pisses people off, I don't give a shit. This is what I want to do. And like those two things don't overlap. And I think the complexity comes in, and I'll have to pick your brain on this, is the fact that Tesla is a public company, that he is a CEO of said public company. He is quite, say, forward-facing in the fact that he's can very easily, I think, be labeled as the Tesla brand. That's creating a lot of the conflict. Do you agree with sort of my breakdown? Do you think it makes sense to sort of try to frame it around this way for people to maybe better understand where he's coming from? And do you think that it's something that needs to change, or it is what it is, and folks should just accept it or not accept it and then go from there? Like, how do you think about that?
Well, whether or not you think it should change, it's not going to. Okay, write that fucking down. Elon is not going to change. Elon's going to Elon. The fucking end. So if you don't like it, too bad. It's not going to change. And no amount of trying to coerce or he's just not going to. It's like me. You try and tell me to change, go fuck yourself. That is my immediate reaction. I don't care. I'm a good example of somebody who's willing to be divisive on my own YouTube channel. I shit on people all the time. I mock religion. I'm literally saying it now. It's hilarious that people to me have religious beliefs. And I'm willing to say this. I know people are getting triggered right now, but I'm like, the reason I say this is because I see people who mean well, who read a book and then go, oh, this means I need to kill an apostate or do this or that, or, do something that's going to cause negative consequences because I'm a good person with bad ideas. And I know this is divisive, but if something matters to me, I'm just going to say it. I swear I talk about my use of cannabis on the YouTube channel. A lot of people don't like that, and I totally understand it. But nothing anyone says would ever, ever change me. I'm not going to censor myself or suppress my opinions, period. And Elon is the same. So you can have the debate about whether he should change or won't, but he's not going to. I think that's fundamental. And as for Tesla, I think most people are massively overemphasizing how much of an impact Elon's actions and divisiveness are having on Tesla. There's a very vocal minority of people who are virtue signaling, I cancel my Tesla order because I need you to think I'm a good person, Elon bad. So therefore, I'm going to tell everybody that I'm good because Elon bad, I cancel my Tesla. These are a vocal minority of people who are pathetic, who just need the approval of other humans. There's not that many people out there. Most people are not going to suffer having to buy a shitty EV or a shitty vehicle instead of a Tesla just because Elon said something that made them butthurt. A few people will, if it's the most important, if they're entitled, I don't know, being a Democrat, right? Like you look at their Twitter profile, and it's like Democrats and blue this and that, and their whole identity is wrapped around that. These people are a minority, and sure, they'll get butthurt and mad. But in the scheme of things, and going back to your earlier point about Elon and Tesla, it's all product centric. This is the winning strategy. In the short term, there's ups and downs. There's a little bit of controversy. At the end of the day, if Tesla has compelling, highly functional, just industry leading.
You were talking about what's
All right,
really
let's
most
try again.
important for the end goal.
Yeah, it's just about the great product. And I think that people are getting caught up in the noise right now, especially people who are getting a little bit butthurt because, Elon's criticized something that I like or I care about or this, that, or the other. I don't think there's that many people who are going to be adversely impacted by this. Like I said, some people will, but I mean, you could make the argument, why do people still drive VWs? I mean, who founded VW, guys? Hello? And they're still selling like 10 million vehicles per year. And there's many other examples of this stuff as well. Henry Ford wasn't exactly an upstanding citizen on certain fronts, many people would say. Still, Ford's selling plenty of vehicles as well. I think people miss this. I mean, Apple's another great example. Everybody knows there's issues with some of the labor there. I'm talking to you on an Apple product right now. Most people watching use Apple stuff as well, even though this is stuff versus, Elon sharing some opinions that might divide people. Yet Apple still continues to sell products. So
yeah, I agree with you there. The one thing that I've been really trying to test is is there a legitimate chance that Elon, being Elon, which he's not going to change, is it legitimately impacting the investing thesis? And that's what I'm trying my best to do, because if I have an audience, I built this thing and I have a YouTube channel and people come to me for some information. And one of the primary informations is well, you seem to know about Tesla, so I need to understand what's going on, which I'm very humbled by, to be completely honest. I'm like, fuck, okay, I'll try my best. and I'm really enjoying that journey. So what I'm really trying to say is, okay, if Elon as an individual, let's separate the individual from the investing thesis. If the individual is truly causing pain to the brand, is it something that's going to be widespread? Is it something that's going to be the minority? Or is it going to be something that's going to be long lasting? And right now, using the very sort of non-scientific data, talking to people, looking at sales, basing the fact that this is very likely just a US specific phenomena that's happening right now that is not really truly global, especially trying to talk to folks in my community that are from other parts of the world. It just seems like to me that this is an important thing, and I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. It's an important thing for people who are able to put their moral guidelines or their ability to say, hey, I don't believe in this thing because I really don't believe, over their value, like their cost versus value proposition that they use to vote on products with their wallet. Meaning that I think most people separate what they think of the individual versus what the product brings to their life and what they do, how it makes their life better, more convenient, more comfortable. And they don't really think about the individual. And that's how most people do. And the other thing too is we live in a bubble. I live in a bubble.
I was about to say that.
Right?
We do live in a bubble and we get a very distorted view. And human psychology, our brains just automatically sample the world a little bit. That's everything. And so if you're in a bubble, your mind subconsciously is sampling data points going, people are complaining, crying, Elon bad, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, everyone thinks the same thing. If you step out of this bubble, very few people, here's a question. Do you think there'd be many people you could find under 15 years of age who have a negative opinion of Elon, who weren't indoctrinated by their parents? I don't think you'll find that many people, just to illustrate the point of living in a bubble. However, if we're in this bubble, there's a lot of people have really strong opinions, political views, etc. They're very loud. Elon criticizes this, that, or the other. They make a lot of noise, and we just assume everyone thinks the same way. Long story short, we live in a Tesla bubble, and I think we're getting a very distorted view of reality. Yeah,
that's a conclusion I'm coming to. I really think so. And it's not right or wrong. And I think that's and I like how you sort of started when we started talking on the topic. Is it's not about right or wrong. It's just about what is.
Correct.
And what makes it, I think, difficult for some, and I kind of put myself in this bucket a little bit, is that I think Elon as an individual can be quite inspirational. I think the way he approaches problems and sort of the things that he stands for, I think had a net that captured the initial base, call it, everybody who's been on board since 2020, 2021. Let's move the world to a sustainable future. Let's move the world towards, advancing the avenue of sustainable transport. Everybody, let's go to Mars, right? Let's make the world a better place. Yep. And now that the narrative has changed to not the whole thing, but now he's introduced a new variable and new rhetoric to the play that says, oh, and by the way, these things that are existential, I Elon believe that a subsegment of the political base in the United States is hurting our ability to get there, and that has been a brand new dynamic that has been thrown into the mix. That sort of subset of saying, "Hey,
I just dropped for a while."
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. What was the last thing I said? It's okay.
Carry on. It doesn't matter. I'm sure the viewers heard most of what you're saying. I did it, so it's all good. But I understand where you're coming from. Initially, the base was just on board with Tesla, the mission, improving the future for humanity, and SpaceX as well. And now that Elon's also,
it was a very specific,
everyone was unified on these one or two things. It's an inspiring mission. Nobody's going to get butthurt about transitioning to sustainable energy or, becoming a multiplanetary species.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And now that he's identified right or wrong, again, this is not right or wrong. Now that he said, okay, woke mind virus, not being able to have freedom of speech, and whatever other segments he views as a thing that's of issue, there's a segment of that community now that is like, yeah, but I don't see that as an existential crisis. What are you talking about? This is crazy.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then that's where there's a lot of not craziness. That's like, I don't want to diminish an individual's ability to gauge that as important for them. They have every right to do that. But that's where a lot of the conflict is coming from. So when I'm trying to communicate a message and I'm trying to analyze the situation and saying, hey, is there true brand damage happening? I need to make sure that I take that and I say, okay, does this extrapolate out to everything else? And so far, talking to people and like looking at numbers, looking at the $7,500 rebate that they just opened up, that just made cars fly off the shelf in the United States. And you look at the rest of the world governments passing EV tax credits for everybody. The fact that I'm like, how can it? I don't think it's going to impact. Most people don't care. Most people don't care. Most people don't have the time to care. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it's just a few people that really care and allowed that make a lot of noise. But yeah, going back to the point of living in a bubble, I think we're getting a very distorted view of just consensus opinions. And I think one way to think about it is just imagine Elon's contribution. Imagine you got two empty swimming pools and you got Elon's contribution to Tesla and you just fill it basically to the brim with value he's added. And now you start sort of scooping out with a little teaspoon some of the negative stuff into the other empty pool of stuff that's detracting away, sharing this opinion and being divisive. I think net, you have to look and understand that some of the comments that are divisive have just the most marginal impact overall, and the enormous amount of value that Elon has added and continues to add, his brilliant leadership and execution. At this point in time, I think a lot of people are sort of not really seeing the big picture here and how much value he brings and how insignificant, the current divisiveness and butthurt really is in the scheme of things. Some people seem to be under the impression that Tesla's suddenly not going to be able to sell all their vehicles because Elon bad. There are actually people that now think that Elon, his comments, et cetera, are literally meaningfully damaging Tesla's demand. And I cannot understand how anyone is drawing this conclusion. They could be right, but I just can't put myself in that and go, how could that possibly have that much of an impact? I mean, people watch my channel all the time, and I did a poll recently, like how many times did I make your butt hurt, in 2022 or something like that. So I don't know the exact numbers, but something like 20% of the people who are still watching, still following me on Twitter answered that I pissed them off at least one or two times. They're still watching. All right. Same with Elon. You're not going to agree with everything. And obviously, every time he has an opinion on anything at all, there's a risk that some people don't like that opinion. But he's not going to censor himself if something matters. And so as time progresses, there'll be other issues that he brings up as well that people are going to lose their fucking minds over and over and over again. But it's still just going to be a tiny minority of people, I think.
Yeah. That's an excellent point, is that this is probably just the beginning of, I don't know, divisive Elon, whatever you want to tag it. Like Elon that speaks his mind and he tackles the things that he thinks he's gonna tackle very publicly. And I'm not gonna sit here and say there's zero risk of this being a problem long term, because I have no freaking idea. I don't think any of us can sit down and truly say, hey, this is not gonna be an issue long term. But I really think that the thing that might get lost is that there is an opposite side to all the people that are being divided out of this equation that are also being brought in
You're
into
right.
the equation.
You're right. No one's talking about that, but you're absolutely right.
Right. And then if I tie it back to the investing thesis, if the company, in this case Tesla, is able to capture the majority of people out in the world that would get value from, say, a Tesla product, then in the end, the net effect of saying these things, as long as they're not like, in my head, I'm like, okay, there's got to be a limit. Like, you can't come out and say, let's kill every child alive because they're a pain in my ass. Like, that doesn't seem like something he should say.
Of course.
There's a limit.
No, well,
but it's
I don't
more
think
like
that's something that he would think. So I think the question is, if you take a step back to Elon, his psychology is this important? If yes, take action. The end. Elon's never going to come out and go, I hate this race or that, just go do something ballistic that would actually cause legitimate damage to Tesla's brand, like serious damage, because he's not a moron. He means well. He has good intentions. He's trying to improve the future for humanity. So I don't think there's going to be a moment like that. There's certainly things he could do or say that would cause that level of damage to Tesla and the brand, like catastrophic damage. I could name a bunch of things I'm not even going to say out loud because I'll probably get cancelled and you'll get deleted from YouTube for posting this interview. But I don't think he's going to do that. A lot of people seem to have this idea that he's really impulsive and unpredictable and super erratic. He is impulsive, but he's not erratic. He's not just flippantly saying this or making a tweet to piss somebody off. Now, of course, occasionally he'll make a tweet and delete it. It wasn't a good idea, etc. But he always has good intentions. And I think he's just a genuine caring person who means well. So the kind of stuff that he could do that would legitimately divide and really damage Tesla, it's not in his nature to do something like that. He's not a hateful person. Yeah. He's not mean, nasty, vindictive. He's not racist, sexist, or any of these things either, despite what the hate stream media tells you. And I think a lot of people aren't understanding because they see something that I could say anything right now. Oh, next minute he's going to come out as a Nazi. Not going to happen.
I'm not going to say somebody is like wholly good or wholly bad unless I really get to know them in person. But it does seem like from his track record and the actions he's taken as a human being, it does seem like on the spectrum of good, he's definitely towards the light than the dark, if that's, if we're going to use that as a measure, just because from actions and what he said. Does that mean that everything he says, again, this goes back to my original point, is like, just not everything he says is going to make everybody happy. And now he has chosen an issue that's going to make a lot of people unhappy that are currently happy. And so, yeah. And I think being in a bear market really adds to the flames too. Like, we're in a scenario now where folks are, like, obviously people are going to be upset if they lose money, or you don't lose until you sell, but like watching their net worth go down in something they really believed in. And then they watch a leader that's like acting in an anti manner of how they thought the leader should act in this situation. So I can literally see a lot of the pain. I really can. But the overarching story, again, it hasn't changed. If anything, it's strengthened. Now they're from a position of, $21 billion of cash, zero long-term debt. I literally sat down today and I'm crafting a video for trying to like analyze, because people are saying, oh, Tesla should have a PE of 7. Because, as we're going down this crazy drop, all the haters are piling on, are saying it should be, the same thing as GM and Ford. Okay. Yeah. Really? Yeah. Let's look at the numbers. And so I'm doing that exercise now, and like all these light bulbs are going off, and I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. What's going on? This is wild. It's like the whole saying of the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. This is like the perfect situation of that. So it's just fascinating to watch. It's absolutely fascinating to watch. Again, if we compare the investing thesis, like the fundamentals of the company versus the so-called competition, it's obvious that they're operating from a position of strength, whereas maybe in say 2017, 2018, 2019, when it was really, really dark for the company, they were literally teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, and they had no cash reserves really to survive it through. And now it's completely
that was the critical issue. Was Tesla would need to go to the capital markets again to raise capital. There was a certain point in time where that continued to be true. As soon as that became no longer true, the game changed, because Tesla went from potentially viably going bankrupt to good fucking luck with that. Now, there's got to be a few Poindexes like, man, they could definitely go bankrupt anyway. But when you sit down and think about it, you're printing so much money, you have insane margins. Even in the worst case scenario, you don't end up bankrupt. Maybe you get acquired. Maybe you have to produce vehicles for low margins for an extended period of time. And this is an interesting transition point to the 2023 recession. Tesla, it's in their best interest to sell every vehicle they make, and they will, because they're building out their fleet. Robotaxis will happen in the future. Tesla has a huge amount of flexibility to just pull the pricing lever and just reduce margins if necessary to keep selling vehicles all the way through. They can reduce their profit margins by like 2/3 and still be on par with a legacy automotive. And then this is not including the collapsing ICE sales and the reversing economies of scale and then the investments in EVs. Long story short, Tesla is so incredibly well positioned now to ride through this recession. They got enough cash that they could literally shut down factories for like a couple of years and they'd still be fine. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen, but they're so incredibly resilient, almost bulletproof now. And I don't think people are recognizing this. And I don't think people are recognizing the serious risk that this recession is going to massively accelerate the demise of legacy auto and new EV startups. It's the best thing that could have happened to Tesla, like literally the best thing. They're going to gain market share. A lot of the so-called competition is just going to go extinct, and it's going to be a massive consolidation, in my opinion, and just going to give them an opportunity to just pull further and further and further ahead.
So let me ask you this. Do you think Elon is going on this Twitter mission and saying what he's saying because he knows in his heart of hearts that it doesn't matter how divisive this thing could be, it's not going to impact his child in Tesla, and that now he feels like, should that be a signal that says the fact that he's doing this, and this is kind of maybe asked backwards a little bit, but the fact that he's doing this is a signal that says that Tesla will literally be fine in the future? How do you think about that?
I actually think I've thought about this, and I think that there's a lot of truth in that. It's probably not the primary reason. I think the timing wise, the last few years, I mean, I almost got myself cancelled 1,000 times in the early days on YouTube, in early 2020 and on Patreon. And I think that the timing of this, Elon's going, this is fucked up. He knew what was going on with the censorship. Like there's a lot of stuff I wasn't even able to say out loud now that I'm finally able to start talking about. So he saw what was going on. I think he probably was sitting there going, this is fucked. Can I do something? Probably shouldn't. Then he gets to a point where it's like, yep, okay, Tesla's pretty much financially bulletproof now. It's time to take action on this stuff. But I don't think that was a driving force. Like he didn't just go, okay, I'm going to wait till this exact moment and now I'll start speaking out. I think there's a little bit of coincidental timing there. Tesla basically became, financially bulletproof at the same time that the one true narrative, just went absolutely berserk. So I think it's more of a coincidence, but there's definitely a factor there. I don't think Elon would have done anything that could have been this divisive if Tesla would ever need to go to the capital markets. Because, if you can't get money or, there's this level of fight. Like imagine Tesla was trying to raise capital right now. They'd get fucked. They'd have a terrible interest rate because of so much fight and uncertainty. Elon's crazy. Twitter might go bankrupt. Good luck. But he's past that point now, so he can just, big swing and dick moment. He can just do whatever he wants now and not be too concerned because it's not going to, Tesla doesn't need capital again at the end.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a little bit more lately, and the thing that I struggle with is like I'm an emotional person. I am emotional. I do have.
You mean you're just a person? I think that's the word. Person
I'm a human.
Exactly. Versus alien. Yeah, exactly. You're just a human. I get it.
I'm a human.
I've heard of you people. Yeah. I've studied human beings. They're interesting.
Yes, we're weird. We're sometimes irrational. Yep. I think it's. I feel for the people that feel like they are being backstabbed by some of the actions. I really do. I really do feel for those people, like, backstabbed, or they feel let down, or they feel like Elon is acting in a way that is, unbecoming of somebody in his stature, that it's not correct. Because I really do think one of the things that Elon has done, and I know I lost you there for a second, but I'm just going to keep talking. One of the things that Elon has done is, okay, perfect. One of the things that Elon has done is that he's brought, either on purpose or by accident, so much attention to himself as a human, as a role model, as somebody that people look up to, And the thing that I've been struggling with in my head, like trying to work through, is that how much of that really should be up to the individual who has sort of built that, call it, brand for themselves to keep that, to safeguard that, my dog's just going crazy. Sorry.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll just jump in here. I think that most people, if we look at our evolutionary history, if you piss off the tribe and you're ostracized, you're fucked. You need people to help with clothing, food, shelter, etc. back in our evolutionary past. So most people are wired to not get ostracized, to not divide, to not become an outcast. This is just how human beings are wired. And I don't think this is helpful. It is helpful for seamless, la-di-da, everyone's friends, kumbaya. But sometimes shit needs to be said or done that's not easy, that's not easy to hear or do, and is controversial, is divisive. And I think that most people are too scared to be disapproved of by the crowd and the group that it stops them standing up sometimes when something's important. And Elon just isn't concerned about that same being ostracized. Like the guy, see, here's a question you always have to ask. If Elon's done something that confuses you, you have to ask the question, why did he do this? Why would he sign up to work 80 to 120 hours a week for most of his adult life and suffer an enormous amount of pain, terrible personal relationships, poor health, etc.? Why would he sign up to suffer so much? Because what he's doing matters more than the amount of pain he's going to endure. Some people don't seem to ask this very basic question. You always go back. Why is Elon doing this? He's not doing it to piss you off. He's not doing it to divide people. He's doing it because it matters to him. Every action he takes that causes pain, hate, etc., in his direction is a direct result of him thinking, is this important? Okay, it's important. I'm going to do it anyway. And so I don't think most people think like that. Most people think, am I going to get ostracized? Is this going to piss people off? Am I going to lose friends? Is somebody going to hate me because of this? I better not do it because I can't get kicked out of the tribe. And I think this is one of the core differences between Elon and most people. He's not at all concerned about the approval of others, at all, not at all. Second, he's conscious of the amount of divisiveness and the repercussions of most of his actions. I think most people don't realize this. They think Elon's so dumb that when he says something like, prosecute, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci, people are like, he's so dumb, he doesn't realize it's going to piss people off a lot. He knows it's going to piss people off, but he's willing to move forward anyway. I think this is one of the fundamental misunderstandings in terms of people not understanding where Elon's coming from and why he does what he does. The guy is a sucker for punishment. And it's because he's always thinking about making the future better and not how can I be approved of for my fellow humans. I better not share this opinion. It might offend people. Most people think like that, not Elon. And like just about every single person on YouTube who creates content in the Tesla community, bar a couple of exceptions, have self-censored or not shared certain opinions because they know it's going to piss people off. And I totally understand that's normal human behavior. But Elon does not think that way at all. And I think it's hard for some people to empathize with Elon if they can't even put themselves in his shoes and understand why he's doing what he does. Pain or hate going to be spat his way. You just have to go, why would he do this? The answer is always because it's important to him. He believes it matters. He's trying to do good, even though he's signing up for a lot of pain along the way.
Yeah, that's helpful for me to understand more, as long as you're right. And I'm confident that you are. Because you're somebody who spent a lot of time studying this, and you clearly know better than most where he's coming from with a lot of these things, and that helps me separate out emotion from fact. Emotion from signal from noise. It really does help me a lot. Do you think Elon would benefit from making a concerted effort in separating himself out, call it, I don't know. This is like a weird question because it's like tailoring itself to the investing community. Because it's like 43% of the investing of the investing base for Tesla is retail. And for the last 10 years, I think Elon has done a beautiful, excellent, brilliant job of catering and making that retail investing community very comfortable and welcome, And I
actually got to push back on that because I disagree.
Please.
He's been on the record and told people if you don't like the volatility, don't own Tesla stock. You can't handle it, don't own Tesla stock. He's not trying to cater to everyone. Fair. He's like, look, this is what you're signing up for. If you don't like the terms, don't sign up. It's simple. So I just had to push back on that because I don't think Elon has been intentionally welcoming and catering. However, he certainly has retail in mind. But here's the terms. If you're signing up to be a retail investor in an Elon company, it's going to be volatile as fuck. There's going to be ups and downs. And if you can't handle it, don't get on board. It's that simple. So I think that this is where Elon's coming from. He's always been very much, look, here's what it is. As I've said in the past, people are packages and you get everything that comes in the package. And you just, if you can't handle that, you don't want somebody that's going to speak out on important issues, etc. Elon is not the guy. He's never going to be. He's not thinking, he's got investors' best interests at heart, but he's looking over the long term. He's thinking decade plus. So if you're not a retail investor who's also looking long-term, and some ups and downs, like now we're seeing all the outcry on Twitter, people, oh, fuck you, Elon, blah, blah, blah. Remove Elon, board of directors, blah, 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 blah. These are people who aren't looking long-term, because I guarantee you, in 10 years' time, no one's going to remember this stuff at all. But the people that couldn't handle it are the ones that are making all the noise right now. And this is, but I relate to Elon on this a lot. I've told people to unsubscribe from my channel in the past. Like, I've never said, please subscribe, but I've literally said, look, if this is you, please don't, this is not the right channel. And I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just, I understand some people with their mindset, psychology, or the way they view investing. It's just not the right place to be. And so Elon, I think, is similar. If you're on board, get on board, as long as you're okay with the terms and conditions, so to speak. But if you're not, fuck off. And not in a rude way, but just it's not going to be good for you if you can't handle everything that comes in this package. So I think Elon's been pretty clear sort of from the get. And again, over the long term, he's going to deliver for the investors. I mean, he already has. But a lot of people right now, they're getting kind of lost in the short-term noise. And I think a lot of these people just weren't cut out to invest in an Elon company in the first place. You can't handle the heat. You're learning a lesson right now. If you're trying to blame somebody because Tesla's down, fuck you, Elon, stop talking about things. You're just not suited to invest in one of his projects. I'm sorry. You're not cut out. Just go buy an index or do something, right? Because nothing's going to change.
So I'll make this the last question because I know we're hitting time.
We can hang a little bit longer if you want, if it's not lagging too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that he runs a risk of being run out of the company if he continues this type of rhetoric by the retail investing community and by institutions? Do you think there's a chance where he literally gets voted out if he continues down this path?
I don't think people are that dumb. There'll be certainly some people that want to get rid of him because their fund's down for the quarter. Something along those lines. But I don't think so. I think there's a lot of people whose interests are coming to the fore that are making a lot of noise, and they may not necessarily be aligned with, Tesla's mission. It's aligned with not getting destroyed by your clients. Like, what the hell, man? This is my thing's down. Fuck you. You suck. I think there's a lot of noise at the moment, but I don't think so. But surely people aren't that dumb. Like, this guy's the GOAT. He's an absolute monster.
Wait, let's give it a second here. Let's see if we can get you back. You're like a pixel mess. You look like freaking Minecraft right now. Mm-hmm. Are you back?
All right. I think we're back. So even if you're a bit mad because he shared this opinion or that, you'd literally have to have rocks in your head not to see his track record, his ability to execute, recruit talent, develop compelling products, and go get rid of him. Like, some of the people calling for him to be removed as CEO or wanting a position on the board, or he's not. I just cannot understand. And they go, wait, I can. Like, why would this person say that? Oh, do they manage money for other people? Do they have margin? Is that one? Okay. Usually there's a reason behind the calls to remove Elon. And it's not because he's not good at doing his job. It's because there's other incentives or reasons. And that's why the people are saying that. I mean, can you think of another entrepreneur that's even close to Elon's level in terms of his ability to execute, develop products, innovate, lead, inspire, recruit talent?
No.
There isn't one.
Not even close.
So you'd have to be that daft to want to remove him. Now, obviously, there's going to be a few people that want to get rid of Elon, but I don't think people are that stupid, even if they don't like everything he says and does. Surely, I mean, that's really throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, I think there's one. That's the one thing that I've sort of been thinking through is, he has every right to tackle the problems that he feels are important, and the one thing that he's done, I mean, his track record is building companies in a very unorthodox manner. And so the latest
everything he does is conventionally wrong. Just about everything he does is conventionally wrong, yet it works.
Yeah. He's a disruptor. He disrupts everything.
100%.
Like that's the lesson that I've learned from following this guy for as long as I have, is like he just disrupts. And now he's disrupting his own investing base.
Yeah, he is. He is. I like it. Yeah, that's actually a really good call. He is the ultimate disruptor. So disruptive, he even disrupts his investors.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm like, okay, so that's par for the course. It is par for the course.
It
again, I don't know him personally, and it's one of those things where it's like, again, it's tough for me to say with 100% conviction that this is what it is, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. The dude just doesn't. The way he thinks is different, and and it's atypical. and it's unconventional and it's unorthodox with everything. If he applies first principles to everything in his life, you're going to have somebody that's going to be doing some perceived weird shit. And that's just how it works, because most humans don't think from first principles, because who's got time for that? Who's got time? It's too much work. It's too much work. And for him, it's second nature. And so I think that's why, he uses first principles to try and make a decision that, and sometimes that first principle could be incorrect. It's not like he's 100%, just like with the Tesla Roadster, he tells a story about we thought we were doing this correctly, but we
absolutely train wreck. That was the biggest disaster of all time. It's actually quite interesting to hear when Elon just admits how fucking dumb he is and how fucking dumb Tesla have been and how many dumb mistakes they've made. The irony, of course, is all these people who think that Elon has his huge ego and it's like, hello, are you serious? The guy's literally roasting what a fucking moron he is over and over, sharing his idiocy repeatedly and openly. He's the polar opposite of somebody who has the ego. And I think this is one of his core strengths. He's willing to do what he believes is right. But he's also not going to go double down on a dumb decision once he realizes it's a dumb decision. Most people will. They realize they've screwed up and they're like, well, it's going to be embarrassing if I admit a mistake. I'm just going to keep doubling down and doubling down. He's not like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. And I think ultimately that's what's most impressive about the guy is that he's not afraid to do what he thinks is right. It's obvious to me that he's not too concerned about how people view him or think of him. There is a at least within the context of what he's doing, he thinks Twitter is more important than what people think of him. I think that's a fair statement to make. And I respect that a lot. We can sit down, I can have a different discussion with somebody else besides you, and they can bring up valid points on the opposite as to why they think, he should care more and blah, 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 and all this stuff, which I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. It's just his approach is so unique that in itself, it's just so fascinating to watch. Like I said, how it disrupts his own community and his own investing base and all the things that he's been working towards. But I think ultimately, like we've talked about, the long-term effects of this, I don't think are really long. I think it's a blip on the radar. I think it's going to be something that we're going to look back to, I don't know, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned during this time. So I think maybe we'll close that out with this question. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in the last 6 to 9 months as a Tesla investor?
It's a good question. I'll have to ponder it for a while. You can enjoy some silence while I contemplate that one.
Go for it.
I think most investors, or at least a large number of investors, do not understand how much their emotions are clouding their judgment. I think that it's just like contagious. If there's fear, it just becomes contagious. If there's panic or uncertainty, the more fearful people are, the less they are able to think. As I've said in the past, I've used the term fear-induced brain damage. It's a real thing. It affects many people, and in particular, investors. If you're worried, like you might be fearful, Elon's going to crush Tesla stock, I'm scared. And now suddenly fear's overtaken and you're no longer able to think clearly. And I think a lot of people are learning this lesson. In a bull market, everyone feels like a genius. But once things aren't going your way, so to speak, that's when a lot of investors, I think their emotions are really coming out. And I've been pretty surprised about some of the comments and thoughts and ideas that I've been seeing from people in the Tesla community right now. Clearly, people who are entirely overcome by emotion and just have lost the ability to think clearly. And I think this is probably the biggest thing I've seen in the last sort of 6 to 9 months. I didn't quite realize how easily people can suffer from fear-induced brain damage, to be honest. I mean, I should, because I've seen other examples in the last few years, but this is a big one. I think people are not thinking clearly. And I think in a few years' time, Tesla investors will look back at this time and they'll probably forget how emotional they were. But I think we're at peak fear-induced brain damage in the in the stock market.
Yeah, I think the comment around fear and emotion is definitely one of my biggest takeaways. Is like for me, that's one, like for myself, like if I had in my head, like if I'm going to be very honest about what I was sort of experiencing as a person watching this whole thing, it's like I had it in my head that, hey, Tesla stock's not going to go down below this level because it just doesn't make any sense. And then it sure as fuck did.
That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
This fear-induced brain damage now is where logic's gone. I personally, like, I was thinking of using margin as Tesla's coming down. I did some modeling and I thought, okay, worst case, 60% unless it's like asteroid impact crash, maybe 70%. No chance worse than that, even if an asteroid takes out one or two factories. And here we are at like, I don't know how much, down 72+%. And I'm like, did this actually happen? Yes. How did this happen? Not because of logical or rational reasons. And yeah, this is a key lesson here. It's just how irrational, how emotional investors can become. I couldn't have predicted this, but yet it's happened. So I'm learning a valuable lesson here about how much emotions can grip people in uncertain times. And yeah, just absolute craziness. Yeah. And you just couldn't have predicted this, but here we are.
Yeah. So many great lessons. I think ultimately, if we fast forward, say 2 to 3 years from now, definitely within 5 years, I feel confident that everybody who has lived through this time as a Tesla investor, and they really sat down and really analyzed what has gone on and be honest with themselves and really like be comfortable with your feelings. And I hope this conversation doesn't make people feel like this should somehow think like you do or like I do. Like this is just a sounding board where, I really respect you as somebody that I really value your opinion. So that's why I brought you on to sort of pass these thoughts back and forth. And I want to take yours in, and I hope mine are valuable for you to take in. But I think that is ultimately the most important thing here, is that all of us, I think, have to be very comfortable with how we feel, and we should be very comfortable voicing those opinions, or like how we feel, our thoughts, our opinions, in the most respectful manner possible, so that we can move forward, so we can ingest the lessons and move forward, right? That's my biggest takeaway. And that's why I'm so grateful to have a freaking platform, because I get to do this with people I really respect. And it's like mind blowing to me. And I'm trying to get everybody else like, hey, watch this, because I think this is the right way of doing this. So that's my biggest takeaway. It's like, don't be afraid of how you feel. Don't be afraid that you may have gotten it wrong in the short term. Be very open about those lessons and voice them and move forward. I think I lost you.
Lost you there. Sorry.
Oh, are you there? I was wrapping a bow around my...
That was a 69th dropout.
Probably was. I think this is the sign. I think you're right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where is Stephen Mark Ryan? Oh, you're in here twice.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, sorry.
That's awesome. It's so good.
Time to wrap.
Dude, I literally have you in here twice. That's fucking crazy. I was just wrapping up my thoughts. I don't know if you want to give.
More than nothing.
Damn, this internet's brutal. You're like, oh, there you are. There you are. I have you now.
Wait. Oh, here we go. I think we might be.
Yeah, I have you. Go ahead.
Yes.
Closing thoughts. Take 30 seconds. Go. Closing thoughts.
Long time horizon, long-term perspective. Thank you. In the north.
I lost you.
Having me? Look, seeing.
I lost you.
P.S.
I lost you. What a disaster. Oh my God. Fuck it. Let's just say bye. Try to get a goodbye in there or something. Goodbye, everybody.
In bumfuck nowhere.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.